like that. Whole little bitches will fall on back. Let them know that you're too much, and this is a beat they can't touch.
How are you doing, Fiji? Yes, indeed, fast approaching, well, the major bulletin. But before we even talk about the major bulletin, what about my little news flash?
Oh my gosh, please don't let him get me started on that again.
Getting on the bus yesterday, and then he tells me, brother, move on to the other seat, because we can fit 2 people where you're sitting.
Hey, you can't blame the dude for being honest, okay?
There was nothing honest about what he said. Hi, I'm Pibil.
And I'm Fina,
Your daybreak duo on Gold FM. From Mondays to Fridays.
From 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Turn us on.
In this bulletin, top Fijian officials to put pressure on UN negotiations with Al-Nusra on release of Fijian peacekeepers. Last-minute recruitment, hundreds turn up for Fijian Elections Office recruitment drive. And villagers make it count, voting progresses with ease on Suru Island. Welcome to FBC News, I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. Prime Minister Varange Bainimarama has issued a directive for the Fiji military forces to put pressure on the United Nations in negotiating the safe release of our detained troops. RFMF Commander Brigadier General Mosese Tukoitonga says for this reason, Fiji's Ambassador at Large Brigadier General Ioane Naivalarua will leave Fiji for New York on Monday to oversee the negotiation process in the UN. At the same time, the RFMF is sending a 3-member team to Syria to help with negotiations. Eleanor Turangareview reports.
It's now 9 days since the 45 Fijian troops were taken captive. 3 days since the Al-Nusra Front rebel group made contact with United Nations negotiators, making demands in return for the release of the Fijian troops. This has the Fijian government and the Fiji military forces deeply concerned.
The PM has directed that we put pressure on the system. And as such, Ambassador at Large, Major General Naivalarua, will be traveling to New York on Monday to help put pressure on the UN system. At the same time, we're sending a team to Syria to go and join the negotiators. It's a very senior RFMF team headed by the Commander Land Force, who will be leaving our country Tuesday or Wednesday next week, depending on the approval of the visa.
In a media briefing this morning, Tukoitonga says the United Nations is still trying to re-establish negotiations with the rebel group.
We've been assured by negotiators that this is normal under the circumstances, that there are periods within the negotiations where one of the groups will pull out from the negotiation just to regain the initiative. And we've just reached that state of the negotiation where the Al-Nusra had pulled out, and we now don't have any communication with them. But we expect them to come back to the table very soon. They've been trained for more than 2 months. We've continuously put them on a rigorous training, and then they went into peacekeeping specific training, and we do scenario training for what they could get on the other side of the world. But no doubt everybody was prepared to go, and we don't send anybody without putting them through the preparatory training for such missions.
Well, hundreds of people packed the Suva Civic Auditorium today in the hopes of scoring a job with the Fijians Elections Office. The Elections Office is looking to secure 300 more workers, with the general elections to be held in less than 2 weeks' time. Maggie Boyle has more.
Elections only 10 days away. The Elections Office has had to hold a recruitment drive for additional staff. The vacant positions for the Election Results Centre falls into 4 categories, namely logistics, telephone operators, clerical officers and runners. From your basic information form to an aptitude test, There was no shortage of applicants, with hundreds turning up to see if they had what it takes to make the cut.
As a Red Cross volunteer, we don't favor anybody, so that's why I'd like to come into the election, just to come and sit down and participate with other friends of mine.
The new government, or whichever government is coming, so I could have a say in what they need for this country.
The last recruitment drive for election staff was held in May to secure 14,000 temporary workers to assist with polling. With the hundreds that have applied today, only 300 will make it through, and they're expected to be notified in a couple of days. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Pre-polling continued in about 80 venues across the country today. Watisoni Rekonroka visited Suru Island this morning and files this report.
Suru Island is located about 40 minutes walk off the Queen's Highway at Serua past Navua. When FBC News arrived on the island, villagers were already making their way to the village hall to cast their vote.
Serua is hoping for a good and new government for the next 5 years.
By 10 o'clock, almost 100 villagers on the island and from the nearly Luvu Settlement had cast their vote. Sevanayambo Sewanga hopes his vote will count in having a good government in place.
Serua is voting for a government that hears the mandate of the people.
About 100 voters casted their votes in Suru Island this morning. The villagers was excited since this was the first time the voting process came to the village. However, Serua is also hoping for a promising future after the 2014 general elections. Watisoni Rekonroka, FBC News.
Police Commissioner Ben Hunival confirms the Fiji Police Force has received a number of election-related reports and are conducting investigations. Hunival says the number of reports received indicate political intolerance to the election process. He says, as stipulated in the Electoral Decree of 2014, the Fiji Police Force will conduct initial investigations before the case will be referred to FICAC. Hunival is requesting all Fijians to exercise discretion and be mindful of their actions during this time and to follow the rule of law. Fiji First party leader Vorenge Bainimarama says political parties have turned the upcoming elections into a racial fight by bringing discrimination against other races. He was speaking at the Fiji First Family Fun Day at Churchill Park in Lautoka, where hundreds turned up to look at what the party has to offer for voters. Christopher Chand has more.
Bainimarama is promising an end to racism. His party stands for all people to be called Fijians.
Always use that, especially this time when there's an election coming around the corner. They always attack other races.
More than 20 Fiji First candidates also made an appearance.
They had the gunshots and they ran away. Who stood with us? Frank Bainimarama.
Fiji is united, irrespective of ethnic division that's being perpetrated.
Everybody in this country needs to acknowledge one thing. There is one man that stood up for all of you.
Many people turning up today to show their support for the party.
We come to Lautoka today to just see the party from here, so that I just want the Fiji First.
I'm a taxi driver of Lautoka and I 100% supporting Fiji First.
Bainimarama also answered issues like the land decree.
Before election, we always use land as a political football. That's a term that always come up with.
One day after announcing their manifesto, there were also questions about their new policies.
In water and electricity, whether it's free or...
Oh, discovered that a family will use so much water in a day. That is the water we're going to tell water authority that amount of water will be free. But if you just open up your tap and throw it out in the drain, you will pay for that water. Preschool is mentioned here. Preschool. We will start with preschool, free preschool, next year, 2015. Listen, but only starting from term 2.
This is the first time this event is being held in the Western Division. The Fiji First political strategy is to hold family fun days to attract more supporters as they count down to the September 17th elections. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
Still to come on FBC News, future secured. Squatter settlers to get new residential lots.
मेरा चांद मुझे आया है नजर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर। छाया है नशा मेरे आंखों पर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर। रह जाए ना प्यासा मेरा प्यार, मेरे बाहों में भर दे मेरा यार, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर, ऐ रात जरा थम थम के गुजर। हाय मिर्ची एफएम पर मैं हूं जितेन शांडिल। शामिल हो जाएगा हमारे साथ टुनाइट शो में मंडे टू फ्राइडे फ्रॉम 7 PM to 12 AM। मिर्ची एफएम इट्स
Ni sa bulu bina kana turna kini marama ni bulu bina kana dor bo kini mone lewa ni sa bulu bina kana mone en do talen no no ni wa katalau en mataka nei dai
en vindela na mai nei tasiri
no bulu maleka bo ni milote nei soro taboa
en lomo ni bonua mai sanganga
ni bulu ni ko Samuel na no tanga ni wa katalau en radio Fiji One nandomo ni tina vonga ni venu mai no no kini diwa en bi mataka moni tikina paruka ni kai namaka.
Welcome back. Now, the Social Democratic Liberal Party, or SODELPA, held a rally in Nandi this morning. Close to 40 people took part in the march through Nandi town. SODELPA's Nandi-based candidates and its youth members used the rally to campaign about their party's manifesto and the policies they will hope to introduce if elected into parliament. SODELPA has 48 candidates standing in the elections. Now, 105 residents of Luvu Squatter Settlement in Nandronga stand to benefit from new residential lots that will be allocated to them by government. Minister for Housing Ayaz Sayed Qayyum says the Bainimarama government is committed to empowering the people through equality. Vasita Kote Wasawasa reports.
Over 100 residential lots will come out of this piece of land to house squatter settlers who have been living here for years now. No longer will the settlers face the thought of being evicted due to the expiring of their leases. The upgrading of the squatter settlement along with the renewal of their leases will go a long way in ensuring a good future for the settlers.
Once this development is carried out and people get proper leases, they will then be able to feel confident to go and build better homes. They will then feel confident about the environment. They will feel good about themselves. If they want to go and build a better home, they can use that lease that they will get as a mortgage to go to the bank and borrow money to build a better home, not just have a tin check. So the entire outlook of this area will change. And when that happens, when people feel empowered, it also affects the economy in a positive manner.
Director Housing Kolini Ombola says those who will want to own a residential property once the upgrade is completed will have to meet a certain criteria.
105 prospective residents will be allocated 99-year residential leases with a nominal premium of around 3,900.
The president of Luvu State says they can now breathe a sigh of relief knowing that their future is secure.
Like before, we did not have any security, we did not have the land, we did not have so we were in the middle. But today, we'll see that everything is there for us. Now we know that we have our own land.
Sayed Qayyum says government remains committed to providing proper housing facilities to the people, especially to those living in squatter settlements. Wasita Kotimwasawasa, FBC News.
Fiji Pine Limited has paid out $360,000 to landowners as part of the land security bonus. Fiji Pine is the largest holder of land leases in the country with more than 80,000 hectares. Prime Minister Vodafone Bainimarama handed out the payments to close to 400 landowning units at Drasa in Lautoka. Bainimarama reassured them that their land is safe and not to be swayed by political parties campaigning about land issues.
Lease security bonus payment is one such new revenue structure or new revenue stream that we have come up with in order to ensure that greater returns go to all the landowners. This benefit goes directly to the landowning units.
This was the second land security payment by Fiji Pine. One of the most eagerly awaited events on the annual calendar of Fiji Cancer Society has been launched. The biggest morning tea raises funds for cancer treatment and cancer support work. Sakusa Nevua reports.
The biggest morning tea has been running for several years now. While there might be a good reason to have a cup of tea and some pastries, the event raises awareness about cancer, which affects many people.
I'd really like to thank Motibai Groups of Company for continuing to support such an event, such a campaign, because cancer is affecting and increasingly the number of people in Fiji. So with the support of Motibai, and they have signed another MOU that they will continue their support in the next 5 years. This is very encouraging.
Dr. Luveni says, despite awareness, a lot of people don't get tested. Treatment of cancer is more successful when it is diagnosed early.
A lot of women come out openly to be tested for cancer, and this is why there's an increasing number. And we feel for the women. We feel that because of the lack of awareness, information on cancer, they present themselves at the later stage of the disease.
The Ministry of Health is creating awareness that cancer can be treatable in an early stage. Sakusa Nevua, FBC News.
Coming up on FBC Sports, Stallions survive Northland scare to retain HFC Fairbrother Cup. And the Wallabies make 3 changes to side that will face Springbok Pack tonight.
देश की धड़कन वेरी फिजी 2 का प्रसारण कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत हम कर रहे हैं। सुंदर ये मौसम और ऐसे मौसम बहार में आप भी कार्यक्रम का आनंद उठा रहे हैं, आपको शामिल कर रहे हैं हमारे साथ में।
गुड मॉर्निंग आपको हम कहना चाहेंगे, अगर www.fbc.com.fj पर आप हमें सुन रहे हैं, हम सफर प्रोग्राम आपके लिए जारी है। सुबह 9 बजे तक हम आपका साथ देंगे। गुड मॉर्निंग आपको।
अपने दिन की शुरुआत हमारे साथ कीजिए। रेडियो फिजी 2 पर हम सफर प्रोग्राम हर सुबह 6 से 9 बजे तक। जॉइन अस।
Ada orang cuma nak tanya kau ni orang ni bilang nak tanya kau misal apa? Ni ada di sambul bilang nak serang kau di sana. Ni cuma kira nak orang cuma ini. Tu nak sile. Ni sambul lah. Oh ya, Mr. Ben. Kenapa? Nama kira ni bilang tak kamu ni kira orang bukan main orang. Kena siapa? Enabula FM. Apa tu?
Welcome to FBC Sports. The BLK Nandranga rugby side has retained the HFC Fairbrother Trophy after defeating Northland 12-0 at Lawanga Park this afternoon. The first half was a chapter of errors as neither side was able to play cohesive rugby on the dry Lawanga turf. Vodafone Fiji 7 squad member Savinatha Rawada broke the deadlock in the 53rd minute, scoring the opening try, before fellow squad member Apisai Ndomolailai dotted down for another try 10 minutes later. Both sides lost a player to the sin bin during the match. Tireless Nandranga flanker Levani Kurimundu was awarded the Man of the Match prize. And Suva are next in line to challenge for the prestigious silverware next weekend. Meanwhile, the Masisi Vola Vola coach Malolo side will face Dhaka in the Telecom B Division final next weekend. Malolo defeated Neitasiri North Bulls 19-13 in the semi-finals, while Dhaka defeated Ra 23. The Telecom B Division final will be the curtain raiser to the HFC Fairbrother Trophy match between Nandranga and Suva. The Fairtrade McCoy Bulldogs Rugby League side created a major upset at the Vodafone Cup top semi-finals after beating defending champions Sambeto Roosters 14-10 at Churchill Park. The 2012 champions came into the match as underdogs. The Bulldogs will face the winner of the second semi-final between KBL Suru Dragons and DC's Nandera Panthers, which is still underway. Fine weather conditions were experienced across the entire country today. A weak trough of low pressure lies slow moving over Tuvalu. An easterly wind flow prevails over most of the southwest Pacific Island countries. Well, Lambasa recorded a high of 32 degrees on the temperature chart today. Nandi, Lotoka and Bar recorded 30 degrees. Savu had the lowest on 28 degrees. Tomorrow, fine weather is expected across all centres, except for some showers in the afternoon for the capital, Suva. Now for the further outlook, fine apart from brief showers over the interior and eastern parts of the larger islands. Easterly winds 15 to 20 knots and moderate seas. Recapping our headlines tonight, top Fijian officials to put pressure on UN negotiations with Al-Nusra on release of Fijian peacekeepers. Last-minute recruitment, hundreds turn up for Fijian Elections Office recruitment drive. And villagers make it count, voting progresses with ease on Suru Island. It's now time for the Fijian Speak segment.
Fiji First because they are providing with jobs and education free.
Support Fiji First. He's a good Prime Minister.
Right now, I'm not during the election time, and I vote for my party.
I don't know which political party I'm going to support.
Now you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizens@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook page FBC News. If you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or simply #FBC News. And to receive the latest headlines on your mobile phone, take subspace FBC to 777. That's subspace FBC to 777. That's news for tonight. I'll see you again tomorrow. Good evening.
Hey, how's it going, Fiji? You're the afternoon step with Josie. And of course, I've got more good hits lined up for you, so stay tuned for that. But right now, check this song out, man. It's Golden City coming at you, doing the Amity K, Ready for Your Love, right here on Today FM.
Hold on, pump a little bit and let them know what's going on like that. Like that. Hold on a minute, just fall on back. Let them know that you're too much. And this is a beat they can't touch. How are you doing, Fiji? Yes, indeed, fast approaching, well, the major bulletin. But before we even talk about the major bulletin, what about my little news flash?
Oh my gosh, please don't let me get started on that again.
Getting on the bus yesterday, and then he tells me, brother, move on to the other seat, because we can fit two people where you're sitting.
Hey, you can't blame the dude for being honest, okay?
There was nothing honest about what he said. Hi, I'm Pivil.
And I'm Fina.
Your daybreak duo on Gold FM. From Mondays to Fridays.
From 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Turn us on. Now.